Hello, everybody. How do you decide which of your relationships...
No.
I can hear myself twice.
Oh, God. There we go.
How do you decide which of your relationships are worth keeping, which are worth getting rid of, and how do you make space for ones that you'd like to have? We're going to talk about it. Let's jump right into that.
Well, welcome back to thoughtraid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon. This is Tim. And today we're talking about friendships.
Well, not just friendships, but relationships. Because I think, if you go back and look at Break the Meta's videos, we did this one, me and Chelsea Cordell, about the relationship between intimacy and commitment. And in that, we talked about the different levels of commitment that we're supposed to have with friends, with dating relationships, and with romantic relationships. And with that, based on the commitment level, how much intimacy you're supposed to give and receive, and navigating that's kind of confusing. And even more so, navigating how much space you have for those, and not just like time space, but I'm talking emotional, mental, all that space too. It's really confusing.
Yeah, because every person is different, and each time that you're getting involved with a new person as well, like there's just so many new nuances you didn't have to deal with from the last person you were pursuing or becoming friends with or whatever.
Well, even before that, it's a matter of, do they like me? Do I like them? Are they worth my time? Oh man, I hate how they chew their gum. Oh, they don't like the things that I like.
But also navigating all the previous years of experience that you've had before you reach this person. Like, that's just as real you have to get to, because no matter if you want to or not, you are going to have your memories.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I was talking with a client the other day, and they were just talking about relationships and trying to figure stuff out. And they recently broke up with somebody they've been with for 7 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. And they were kind of being woeful about the next relationship that they were going to get into. Because they were thinking, man, it's just going to be like the last one. And the person said, I always pick the bad ones. Just thinking about my socialization through elementary school, middle school, high school, it seemed like I always picked the bad ones too. Like, why did I always pick people that were not great influences on me? And the people that were good influences on me, why was I afraid to actually put intentionality into our relationship? I want to take that back. I don't think I was afraid to. I think I just didn't know how to be intentional about relationships.
Was it modeled to you?
Not that I was aware of. I want to be careful. Also, you want to transition?
I did.
Oh, did you?
It is main thing.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know if I had the awareness when I was younger of what good relationship stewardship meant, like how to navigate commitment and intimacy. I think just, oh man, in Asian culture, and if you guys have seen anime, most of you are into anime and video games. So, like Japanese culture, I learned this in one of my classes recently. In Japanese culture, if you were going to date somebody, there is a formal commission of love, what's the word? Not confrontation, confession.
Confession.
There's a formal confession.
I'm commissioning you to love me.
There's a confession of, hey, here's how I feel, making your intentions known. And oddly, in Japanese culture, they don't openly display affection. No PDA, none of that stuff. But when it comes to relationships, whether they're personal or professional, there are clear lines of understanding and clarity. And I think largely American culture doesn't really teach that well, like how to do that, because we tie our value so closely to how accepted we are. I mean, look at social media. Like, oh man, how many followers do I have? How much money do I met this guy at the grocery store before I came home today, and he had left his debit card at home, and he was like, "Hey Tim, could you spot me $6?" And he was, apologetic, and he's like, "Man, I'm sorry to put you out like this, and this isn't always like this, and oh man, it's so embarrassing." And I was just thinking, like, why is it embarrassing? People forget their cards at home all the time, or at least sometimes. But why is it embarrassing to ask a friend, "Hey, I left my card at home. Could you help me out?" And I know in my own life, I've taken things like that and said, man, my value is based on how people perceive me. Especially when it comes to relationships. I was so afraid of how people perceive me that I had never thought about the qualification of, well, how do I perceive them? Are they worth it for me? And, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but a lot of my life has been people pleasing. A lot of my life has just been trying to get enough people and friends around me to validate how I feel about myself, because I wasn't really sure how I felt about myself. And so that the cost of entry to relationship with me was very low. Mm-hmm. And it was really easy to cross my boundaries because I didn't have any. Mm-hmm. And it made it really difficult to reconcile where I end and where somebody else begins, especially in difficult relationships.
It's not very far different from me and what I had, because I didn't really, once I had moved to North Carolina, I didn't have an easy time making friends because I don't know all the factors, honestly. Culture is different, is the main thing that I can think of. And maybe it was just the areas that I found myself in. But like, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, especially from again, 4th grade to college.
Mm-hmm. How did that make you feel, Brandon?
Lonely, obviously, and therefore the cost of admission to being my friend was as low as, are you willing to give me time? Because it felt like no one was willing to give me time until college, just about no one.
So let's talk about like lunchtime and recess and stuff. Middle school. Did you guys have recess in middle school? I mean, we had PE.
Well, okay, I did have recess by the time I went to Agape Faith Christian Academy, but for 6th grade I didn't. So when I was in a public school I didn't, but when I went to a private school I did have recess.
Okay, so when you were in social situations where there was no constraint to, assign seating and assign groups and stuff, and people had to elect to be around you and you had to elect to be around other people, how did you feel in those situations? Did you feel like, oh man, I have to get people to like me? Or was there like that social anxiety of wondering what people thought of you?
I think I definitely was curious what people thought about me, for sure. I don't know if the words, I gotta get them to like me, ever crossed my mind. Mm-hmm. But definitely the thoughts of no one likes me did. And I don't understand why I don't fit in, kind of thing. I did. But I don't know how often I thought of, I need to do something to be liked. I just thought of I don't know, because I also in some ways felt bullied, so it's not like I wanted to, change to be liked. I just wanted to be accepted. That's all I really wanted, I think, in that time, which definitely sucked. Like, middle school was not fun for me.
So when you said that you were bullied, what do you mean?
It wasn't that I was punched or kicked or, beat up or anything. It was just more so of being isolated and mocked and joked about, which is more specifically what I endured in middle school, specifically. I think I endured it some in high school, but I was in a different mindset when I got to high school, because I was able to reinvent myself at 9th grade.
Man, like I think of all the movie tropes that were sold to us when we were in school. Like the idea of being that kid that moved to a new school and you don't really have history with anybody, and that ambiguousness around who you are, and like you're an enigma, and it's so cool, I think, I mean, is
That's
that you?
Me.
Oh. I just think about why that mattered to me so much. I also wanted a fresh start. I wanted, I wanted to go to a new school with new clothes, with new memories, and like nobody would know if I'm good at something or bad at something, or things I had been made fun of for in middle school. And so like for me, like it was almost like I was always fighting upstream with people. You know, like I was always trying to establish my place where people were saying, hey, you are worth hanging out with. But I think in middle and high school, every kid is like that to a degree. It doesn't matter how popular you are. Everybody's looking for that validation. But as adults, it's a little bit different, you know, because
it's still there.
Yeah, but we don't in school specifically, like middle, high school, elementary school, like you have these kids that year to year, it's like, what'd you do over the summer? Okay, well, we know that we're going to see you next year, more than likely. Okay, well, this person got their hair cut, or, ooh, this person, you know, they've been working out, or this person got their ear pierced, you know, their parents split up. This person's really sad. Like those are like gossipy type things. But in the real world, in the adult world, you get to choose where you go and what you do and who you surround yourself with.
Right.
And that's great and all, because there's so much freedom that comes with that. Like I get to choose where I work. I get to choose who I engage with Discord and Instagram and Facebook, you know, all these social media outlets. I get to choose who is within my sphere of influence. But conversely, it's really easy to engage in confirmation bias with that too. It's really easy to say, hey, this person's hurt me. I'm not going to go through the process of conflict to reconcile this and kind of suss out where our relationship is really. Kind of like I was talking about the, what's that C word again? Confess. I don't want to confess to them what I'm thinking or feeling or where I think our relationship is. I'm just going to remove them as a friend and cut all the toxic people out of my life. Like I have to fight that as an adult instead of just saying, okay, how do I reconcile all these people that I'm going to be around? I get to decide, okay, who am I going to be around?
Right. I'm sorry, that was not, I hate it, but that was not the first C word that came to my mind.
But what was the first C word that came to your mind, Brandon?
I'm not saying.
Why don't you share with the class?
No, I'm not sharing with the class.
Does it rhyme with runt?
We don't need to go there. Moving on. Yeah, I mean, well, it's definitely important not to just cut the toxic people straight out. Like, it's important to kind of reconcile those different things, like you're talking about. But I was just thinking, like, prior to that, like we still. It's not like now that I'm out of high school and middle school, I don't have any sort of desire to compare myself with people. I still have it, and
oh yeah, definitely
have to work through it. It's changed And yes, but now you have the risk of confirmation bias because you can select who you're going to be around. And the way that, at least thinking about that particular topic, the way I've been working against confirmation biases is intentionally, like, one of the things that has been brought to me multiple times is that, oh, you could move out on your own and live on your own. And I'm like, yes, I could do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to have roommates until I'm married because I feel like that would be a healthy way to continue to see things from different perspectives. So that's a small thing. And then also, I have been working towards getting myself involved in larger social events because I feel like that's an easy way also to be engaged at different directions from different points of view. So, you know, it's like I'm intentionally putting myself into uncomfortable situations so that way I can avoid confirmation bias.
Yeah. You know, I'm so thankful that I have the friends that I have because a lot of them are very gracious about helping me understand things about myself that are unhealthy. And they are people who continue to show up in my life, regardless of what I do, because they non-verbally communicate, well, Tim, you're worth it. And we have conversations like that. Like I've had a conversation with my wife where, hey, let's get married. You know, she said, yeah, you're worth it. I said, yeah, you're worth it. And so we know, oh, this person kind of likes me, you know?
We can confirm they kind of like you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing about marriage is it's a lot different than friendship because you know that person has committed, and based on our faith, you know, we believe that you make a covenant with God on this, and so you say, for better or worse, till death do us part, for richer, for in sickness and all that stuff. It's like my commitment. I'm making a covenant, which is basically regardless of what you do. There are a few constraints, obviously. But regardless of what you do, I choose to give you myself and to die for you daily, and vice versa, you know? And so conversation is a little bit different in marriage. It's like we can have difficult conversations and know, okay, this person is not going anywhere because, well, they committed a covenant with God to me.
Right.
And that's not to be taken lightly.
Right.
And myself with her, you know, it's like, well, I'm not going anywhere. I chose not to go anywhere. That's why we're married, you know? And it's cool because through the evaluation period in our friendship and in our dating life, we kind of identified, hey, this is a person that's not going to give up on me. And this is a person that has this fault, but all the good stuff outweighs the bad stuff. And the bad stuff, I believe, can change.
Right.
But I think friendships are a bit more tenuous in that they're a lot more difficult to figure that out because there's no binding agreement. There's no marriage covenant. There's no legal agreement. It's, hey, you screwed me over. We're done. Or
it can be like that.
Yeah. You know, and it's so easy to not talk to people or just give up on the relationship and not be intentional because there's no accountability unless you say, hey, I want to be accountable about this. Like you and I have about many things.
Many things. Yes. One of the things that you do that makes me feel very secure in our friendship is that you verbalize the things that I do that frustrate you.
Yeah, this past Wednesday, we have a guys group, and Brandon looked at me and he's like, Tim, I'm very glad that you verbalized that I annoy you.
I don't know, like, you know, if you can get to a place in a friendship where you're going to do things and it's going to irritate them, but then they're going to tell you about it and then they're still there, that's to me a very secure relationship, a friendship. Yeah. So I don't know, because like I've experienced it where I will begin to unpack the things about my beliefs that are not popular, and then that person is gone. I ended up doing that with one of my previous community, and the entirety of my leadership team went peace in the process. I'm laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing. It was not fun.
Well, through that, and if you want, guys, you can go back. Was it like 2 months ago or something? We did a podcast on that very situation, and we were talking about something about friendship, something about mentorship to friendship or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you label those people as your friends. And I was really confused because I know that you guys liked each other to a degree, but I was like, they're not your friends, Brandon. And you disagreed with me about that at the time. You were like, no, they are my friends. And I think there was a connection there, and I think you enjoyed each other, but I don't think it was quite mutual. And, you know, we've talked about that.
That has been an ongoing conversation this year.
Yeah. And, you know, I had a friend probably 2 years ago, and I've mentioned this before in the stream, that I forget exactly what we were talking about. I think we were talking about a mutual friend that we had that I tried to have a relationship with. And this person looked at me and said, you know, Tim, I think we can think that we are more valuable in people's lives than we actually are sometimes. And I think, well, first, that really sucked to hear, because the implication was that I thought that I deserved more out of their life than I actually did. And this person didn't have space for me or time for me or desire for me, one of the above. And we never really had that conversation, but that's one of those confessional things where it's like, hey, let's DTR, define the relationship. Mm-hmm. You know,
if we're trying to figure out which relationships are worth keeping, conversations like that I think are important to be had, if they can be had. Obviously, if it can't be had, then that's probably a good sign that it's not worth keeping, because it's just too tenuous that it can't handle a basic conversation about what standards are, about where we're at as friends or in a relationship.
Yeah. Well, I want to switch gears real quick, and I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
So last year, this was kind of a thing for you. And this year, it seems like it's becoming a thing for you again, where you're identifying, wow, I don't have the resources for all the people I want to have resources for, or I don't have resources for all the people that are requiring resources of me. And if you guys have any thoughts on this, I'd love to hear them. But how do you reconcile that, Brandon? How do you figure out who is worth the time, who's not? How how do you decide, okay, well, I'm just in a season right now where I just don't have the resources or something's robbing me of, like, how do you navigate that?
Well, the way that I'm currently navigating that is I'm reflecting over what am I getting out of this friendship? You know, is this a person that after giving them my time, they've given me back their time and they've pursued me? Because like I think I've mentioned that there are two particular friends that I'm thinking of that have done that and have been valuable to me, and they want to spend time with me even though I haven't always had the time for it. So that's,
I mean, I don't want to call one of those people out, but
you were already there.
oh, he's not talking about me, guys. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about friends that are not as close as you.
Yeah.
So, there. Anyways, we do need to hang out, though, again. It's been a while since we've done that. What?
I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, Overwatch 2 is coming out this week. Tomorrow. Overwatch 2 is coming out tomorrow.
We'll be playing that for sure.
Yeah.
So, are they giving time back to me? What am I getting out of this friendship? Are they another aspect of that question would be, what, you know, am I learning things from them? Like, am I actually like, when I'm spending time with them, am I actually like finding out more about myself, about God, about something that I'm interested in? Because if I am, that's another sign that it's a valuable relationship for me. So that's another factor. I think, how do I feel around them? You know, if I walk away consistently feeling good from our conversations, I think that's another good sign. You know, if I'm walking away from it and I'm just continuously feeling angry or unheard or anxious, maybe I'd have to wade through that and figure out why. And then if it's me based and not them, then, you know, that's one story. But if there's something more to it that maybe I'm just kind of picking up on but didn't know I was,
Yeah.
you know, that might be a sign that I would want to stop. So are they giving me back time? Are they, you know, helping me learn and grow? Do I feel good about this friendship? Do we have common interests?
Mm-hmm.
I think those are like the four main factors that I'm kind of utilizing to figure out who gets what.
Yeah. Ugh.
And people pleasing and rejection anxiety is one thing that just gets in there and messes it all up too. And I hate it. And I have to stop that. I'm like, no.
You know, Brandon, all that you're talking about makes me think about in my early 20s, like, you're talking about, do they make me feel a certain way? Do I get something out of this? All that stuff. And I think I took it to a really unhealthy degree because I was in multi-level marketing, Amway specifically. And so I was just identifying people. Is this person going to help me go where I want to go? Are they going to help me be profitable? Are they going to jump on the bandwagon and go with me? If not, I'm just going to burn the bridge because I don't stinking need them. You know, that was my thought process. And at the time it made sense because I was hardcore going in a direction that to me was going to get me in life what I wanted. And I was really lonely. You know, I was so focused on what I wanted and things that I wanted to accomplish that I totally disregarded the people in my midst that if I were more intentional with them, I could have had really good friendships with them. Mm-hmm. But I didn't engage in the necessary conflict. You know, I just put up walls. I was talking with somebody earlier about the difference between a boundary and a wall. And I think, especially in people pleasing, especially coming from a place of also being bullied in school and hurts and just insecurity, social awkwardness and insecurity. Mm-hmm. It's so much easier just to put up walls.
Ironically.
And just label everybody as toxic or bad and seek confirmation from communities around me. I totally did that. And it was safe. And, you know, what's worse is it made me feel proud that I cut them out of my life.
You know, my mind is thinking about the different, like, it's so much easier to put up walls and just kind of like dissecting that a little bit, because it's not technically I'm looking at this from a literal perspective. It's not technically easier to put up a wall than it is to put up a boundary, but it feels safer to put up a wall because the wall keeps people out, but a boundary doesn't necessarily do that. So it takes more effort to have a boundary than it does to have a wall.
Well, I mean, it's like freaking not Stranger Things. The Walking Dead. Did you ever watch that?
I have not.
There's this part. I think the town's name was Alexandria. I forget, but they were holed up in this little community, and they'd built a wall all the way around it. And they would have one person patrol the perimeter, but they would have guards stationed at the entrance where there was a gate that opened and closed. And you have to be a lot more intentional, and it takes a lot of effort to maintain a gate. Whereas a wall, you just set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it.
I mean, it's just like on social media. If somebody pisses me off, I could just say delete or unfollow or block. And guess what? I feel so much better about that relationship because I don't have to deal with this stupid person telling me that I'm wrong or not validating what I want to be validated in. And, ugh. But then there's other people, looking on the healthier side of things where we've had conflict. And I'm like, there was a person, I think it was last year or the year before, that said something kind of unkind to me in response to one of my social media posts. And I sent them a message. I was like, hey, that kind of came off really mean. Can we talk about this? And I invited them over and we sat on my porch and talked, and it was really uncomfortable. But it was a good conversation.
That's good.
It's like, okay, hey, you're worth this. Basically what I was communicating was, you hurt me, but you're worth this to me to figure this out. And so let's have a conversation. And I want to know where you were coming from. I want to communicate that you hurt me. I also want to give you the opportunity to step towards me. And I think that's a big thing, because that's scary. Somebody once defined love as putting yourself in a place where people can hurt you.
Yeah. Now that's an interesting process. So going over the topic of which relationships are worth it, there is a degree of humility necessary to really find which relationships are worth it. Because yes, you do want to cut out truly toxic people, but not every person who's toxic is well defined. Some people have tendencies that outwardly look toxic, but doesn't mean that they are toxic or what they're doing is toxic. Or maybe they're not toxic, but they picked up bad tendencies, and with conversations they can walk that back. And you won't know that if you don't give them a chance and work through that, trying to, restore the relationship. There is a expiration date to that, though, of after a certain amount of time. And I can't give you a specific amount of time of like, yes, by this exact time, if they don't change, it's done. It's not that. But there is a definite metaphorical expiration date to that where it's like, okay, we've worked on this, you haven't changed, I can't go any further.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that I hit that point with our friend Dan. Dan, if you're watching, I love you.
And then surprise.
Well, so with Dan and I, we are similar people in that we dealt with pretty bad social anxiety. Like, it was bad, like we'd go into places and just, because our self-concepts can be, once again, kind of tenuous at times. And so I remember Dan would come to our group here. Now, understand that Dan would come to our young adults gathering that we had here at our house after multiple times at me and him trying to have a relationship. Like, we would meet at the mall and it's like, hey, let's be friends. I kind of like you. I'm not sure what you think about me type thing. And we kept missing, And then he came here several times and I'm like, oh, cool. Dan's here. Like, he's a snazzy dresser, very witty, very humorous. And I just overall like him as a person. But it always felt like, oh, he doesn't want to talk to me. Like, the message is clear. He doesn't want, I never asked him, hey, do you want to talk to me? Like, do you want a friend? I never asked that question. I just made a lot of assumptions. And recently he disclosed, he's like, yeah, every time I came to your house, boy, the social anxiety got me. I was like, really? It just seemed like you did not want to connect with me whatsoever, But now we meet every Wednesday, and we're
And every other Sunday.
and every other Sunday. He's our DM in our campaign, or D&D campaign, that is.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just interesting how when we've gone through the conflict of saying, hey, I kind of want to figure this out, and they're like, oh, I kind of want to figure this out too. You start making space for each other because each party is putting in effort. And I don't know, that's cool. I have other friends that don't put in that same effort, or they do, but they're just not the sauce I'm looking for right now.
The sauce.
You know what I mean? Like there are some people that have reached out to me, and they're really awesome people, and they really encourage me and inspire me, and they are standards that I follow after. And I think the world of them, but for some reason, I just don't have a flavor for that as much right now, if that makes sense.
I mean, people's taste buds change all the time, so similarly, I guess what we're needing in the moment in terms of friendships may also theoretically change.
Yeah. But, in those friendships, I have open communication saying, hey, I just don't have the space for this right now. I do love you as a friend, and I do want to connect. It's just my time frames right now. The way we would connect is probably once a month, if that. And I think just being open about that is very helpful. Like when we do reconnect, it's like we don't skip a beat because they're not wondering what I'm thinking or feeling.
I think I can think of one person right now where I'd like to have a conversation like that, of like, I do enjoy you, I just don't have the space for you right now.
Yeah, and I think when people started to communicate that to me early on, I felt some kind of way about it, but when I actually sat and thought about it, I was like, wow, that's really kind of them. I don't have to sit here in this space of ambiguity wondering, wow, did they hate me? Do I smell? Am I embarrassed? Like, what's the deal? Why don't they like me? But no, it's like they do like me. They just don't have space for me. Oh, okay. I don't have to worry about that. I was just going to put that on the shelf until next time we meet, and then let's hang out.
Yeah, and then I have two other friends that I am trying to make more space for. Like I think I mentioned at the onset of all of this, like I've got two friends that are like I've met them through the small group stuff that I've been a part of, and they've been great, and they've made time for me, and we have some similar things we share in interest, and I've learned from them, and so I want to give them more time. And so like I'm learning how to make space in my life. And I've talked about I'm pointing towards the left. I should be pointing towards the camera of Lord. I've talked about this in I want to say the episode where I was talking about brain fog, and the one that subsequently happened after that one. Well, not the immediate one, I think. I don't remember. Anyways, I think the immediate one after that one was Subnautica. Anyways, not too long after that one, of just like having some friends I need to make time for, and like realizing, oh my gosh, my time is being consumed by 5 different role plays, 10 different characters, and
basically just being a nerd.
My life is full of nerddom stuff. Anyways,
I'm a 30-year-old man that plays video games and role plays and plays Terraria and Minecraft.
And
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, and I refuse to feel bad about that. Thank you. But I do need to make more space for those two friends, and so I don't know why I got onto that tangent though. I'm forgetting. Why did I get on that tangent?
Oh, we're talking about how to decide which relationships are worth it.
And you were talking previously about having the opposite conversation, where it's like, I enjoy having you in my life.
Just
however,
not the sauce.
You're not the sauce. Not the sauce right now. This is not my ministry. Oh gosh, I feel like a conversation has been unlocked in my head, like new conversation dialogue options.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like I just think about, for a time in my development as a person, you were a very specific type of flavor that I needed right then. Like the conversations that we had, the things we talked about, the support that we provided each other. It was very specific to that time.
What was my flavor, Tim?
Bland? I don't know.
I needed bland in my life.
But
Blandon.
But here's the thing,
Sorry.
The way we navigated that friendship during that time is much different than how it is now. And there are so many people that I give that same amount of time to that you don't get, right? And it's either because I'm giving something to them or like I'm spending time with other whatever. But that doesn't mean it's not a good flavor, so to speak. Like it's still very important and it has its place. But just because I don't allocate the same resources to that does not mean that I value it any less.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, I don't know. With regards to relationships, I think that's one of the biggest nuggets I've received in the past 10 years.
Just because you don't have a time for a person in the moment doesn't mean they're not still just as valuable to you.
Yeah, and likewise, me with other people, because there's other people I'm like, man, why don't they want to connect with me? Oh, well, holy crap! They're having a baby. I'm not a big thing for them right now. Why should I be?
It's a big thing right now.
Or maybe their dad just died, or maybe they've been overwhelmed because they're working 3 jobs and going to school. I'm not a priority for them. Why would I think I'm a priority for them? And I think it's just really important for me to not allow myself to get butthurt about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think specifically, I think the best thing to say about that is not to have your identity wrapped up in that.
I mean, yeah, that's a more PG way to put it, I guess.
But more PG, really.
Butthurt and not get your identity,
I don't know. Well, that wasn't what I was thinking of. But more specifically, not to make the wording as clear as possible, not to allow your identity to be wrapped up in that, because your identity is not based off of how many people have the time for you in the moment, which is easier said than done, but it's still a very helpful thing to know.
And honestly, I think a lot of Gen Zers, talking about most of you guys, I think a lot of Gen Zers are going to continue to have a difficult time with that, because I have a difficult time with that. I mean, just if you look at how many people care so much about social recognition right now, likes and hearts on videos or followers or subscribers or whatever. I mean, we all deal with that to some degree, but a lot of the socialization has foundationally been built for Gen Zers around that, that whole affirmation economy. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, not only that, you've got Instagram and Snapchat, where if you do anything, it's likely to be found out, or it's possible they could be found out. So it's not like you can just spend time with another friend without some other friend who may be insecure finding out about it.
Oh, I've totally done that too. Like I'm part of the generation that still uses Facebook. And when I see friends doing things without me, I'm like, I wasn't invited. But did I invite them to the past 20 things I did? Nope. So why does it matter,
Yeah. No, fair. So I think that's a good way, like, knowing it's another piece of looking at like who's worth your time kind of thing. There's also the statement of like, oh, I didn't think to invite them to things, but then also they did invite you to things too. So that's something to be thought about, like they might have had, like, it's for people like me where everything rides on my shoulders, and if something doesn't happen, it's because of my fault and not anyone else's. It's good to remember that they also didn't do anything when they could have. So I don't need to be getting hard on myself if I don't, invite them to everything.
Dude, Ariane always has to remind me of that. Like, I'll sit here and think to myself, man, we're not doing this thing, or I haven't talked to this person forever. I just feel like a bad friend. She's like, they didn't do that to you. They haven't reached out to you. Nobody else is putting together this thing and it's like, whatever, whether it's an outing or dinner or something like that. Why do I beat myself up about that? And it's like other people have responsibility in the relationship too.
Yeah. I feel like because once upon a time we had to put ourselves out there more when we didn't have as many friends. Mm-hmm. And so if we didn't do that, we would have a lot harder time having friends in general. And now we've gotten to a place where we've found so many people that it's still hard to remember that we are no longer where we were.
Yeah.
And so there's still that part of us that's like, we need to latch on to as many friends as we can. Otherwise we lack and we're orphaned again.
Yeah. And it's so weird because looking back now, like, I just look at myself in my 20s or even like my whatever, and I think to myself, why didn't I just do it this way? Like I know the answer largely now to figuring out friendships and stuff because I have healthy friendships.
Hello, Zap.
Hey Zap, I have healthy friendships, and it's like I wish I could go back and say, Tim, just reach out to these people, just engage in the conflict, just realize that you're not everything to everybody, and they shouldn't be everything to you. Allow people that space and expect the same things of other people. Why do you feel like you have to give to have value in other people's lives, and you don't deserve anything in return? I mean, that was such a toxic mindset that I had.
Right. No, yeah. I feel like the only way I can say this is to allow myself to get sappy about it, or say cliche things, but we are definitely worth things. We're worth people's time. We're worth people's attention. We're worth people's gifts, whatever. We have value. Mm-hmm. And if we're just in a valueless system, if we're in a valueless relationship, if we're a valueless friendship where they're not pouring into us, I feel like that is one of those things that you should be considering. Is this relationship worth keeping?
Yeah. Well, like I was saying earlier, when we had the young adults group, I had a few times later in the group where I would just sit back and think, man, I've gone 2 months and not one person has asked me, Tim, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? I was always doing that for everybody else. That sucked, man. It sucked. But I mean, such is the life of somebody that's leading something, I guess. Like, I don't know. I always make an effort to ask my boss or, leaders like Matt Peterson, like, how are you doing? Like, is life good? Like, are you feeling okay? And just shouldering that with them.
But to be fair,
thank you, Zap.
Just asked the question. To be fair, Tim, in the middle of hosting the what do we call it? We call it Roots. No, I didn't call it Roots.
The Vine.
The Vine.
Yeah.
In the middle of you hosting the Vine, you hadn't quite yet gotten to the place where you're at now, where you're becoming more comfortable externalizing your emotions related to things.
Shut up.
So, even I, being a close friend to you in that time frame, didn't think to ask that, because it's not like you externalize that I would know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
If you look like you always have it together, it's for everyone who knows they don't have it together. It's hard to think, well, is Tim okay?
Yeah, even more so. I think that maybe that's why I'm so sensitive to it now. There's this group that I'm a part of, and there's several overseers to the comings and goings of what we do, and I don't know. There's one person in particular who has a lot of weight on their shoulders of responsibility. Mm-hmm. Like they lead this, they lead this, they lead this, all within this dynamic community.
Ooh, baby.
And I'm like, there's no way you have it all together. There's no way. Yeah, and so every time I see them, I always ask, like, how are you? Like, okay, let's take off the posture for a second, and let me just see you as a human. Present yourself as a human if you feel comfortable doing that. Like, are you feeling okay? Like, are you happy? Do you need what can I do for you right now?
Stress.
And the crazy thing is, the first couple times I did that, they were like, I'm good. And just nothing. But the other day I was talking to this person, and they were like, I'm actually at this point where, and they told me something kind of personal. I was like, that was a bomb. But I just thought that it was so cool, because I finally got them in a one-on-one scenario, and they were like, yeah, I'd like to get this off my chest. It just felt so cool, because nobody's like that, and I think likewise, talking about how hurting people hurt other people.
Right.
I think now more so in my life, I'm to a point where if somebody does something bad to me or to somebody else, I just have to stop and think, like, oh, well, nobody wants to just ruin other people's lives or ruin their own life or ruin their relationships. There's causation behind why people do things in an unhealthy way. So, like, what's going on? Like, why are you dysfunctional in this way? Of course, I don't ask it that way, obviously.
Why are you dysfunctional?
Well, Zap said, just be a normal person and say good, and then drown the awkward silence. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm good.
Okay, good.
Did I ever tell you that my mentor, one time, there was like the stint of time. We lived out in Davie County, and you do the whole, hey, how are you? I'm good, fine, thanks. How are you? There's that weird exchange. When people would say, hey, how are you? He would say, oh, you don't care. And people would be like, well, I mean, am I wrong? I was like, wow, that's really bold to say that. But I mean, people were like, you're right. I don't care. This is just a pleasantry, you know? But it just looking at human dynamics, I think that's so interesting. Like we're just wired to go through these motions. And it's like, well, let's break the meta when it comes to stuff like that. And actually like address the social norms and be real. You know, I think that's one of the craziest things in all my relationships now. Like I'm so thankful that Ariane really, like, she's one of the main proponents in helping me move away from pleasantries. She always challenges me, like, why are you asking that? That's not what you're thinking or feeling. Why are you posturing? Take off the mask right now.
I'm just going to go confuse people and say no from now on. How are you doing? No. What? That would definitely cause some people to be like, what?
Yeah. Anyway, how to decide which relationships are worth it. Any final thoughts, Brandon? I think I'm heading on into the sunset.
You've got on your horse riding into the sunset.
That was supposed to be a horse.
Perfect. I think I just want to like kind of recap the ideas that I had since you asked the question to me specifically, which I thank you for that question.
You're welcome.
When it comes to like figuring out what relationships are worth it, just to kind of, because I don't know how long you've been with us today, Zap. So this is for you, Zap. I'm giving you this. All right, this is the recap. Pay attention. All right.
Don't give him that much attention.
I will.
And blow up his ego.
You can't stop me. He's here all the time, and I appreciate that.
I totally could stop you. I'll just unplug your microphone.
Oh, jeez. Don't stop me. Anyways, the ways you can figure that out, at least the way that I do that, give me less attention right now. Okay, fine. I'll look off in the distance this way.
This is the perfect relationship.
Stop giving me attention. Anyways, I will get to my point. When it comes to deciding what relationships are worth it, I think, are they giving you time back? Like, you know, are you giving them time, and is it reciprocal? They're asking like, hey, do you want to do something? Are you learning from this relationship or friendship? Are they actually like bringing things to you that you don't know about yourself, that you didn't know about life in general? Like you're gaining something from it. Do you have similar interests? I think that's an important thing. Like it's possible. Growing up, I have definitely had to find ways of developing friendships with people that don't have similar interests with me, and it's doable. It's just not easy. And you have to spend extra energy to be able to pour into that type of friendship until you find something of common interest, which for me typically ends up being about their life and my life. You know, talking about those things because we both have lives. Hey, you're not dead, I'm not dead. Let's talk about being alive. So that's usually where I kind of default to with those kind. But having similar interests, enjoying similar things, you know, it's easier to, you're able to give more time to such a person without it putting a drain on you. So keeping that in mind, especially in times when you have so many friends, it's a good way to kind of navigate all that. And I think also of, it was like, I feel like there was a fourth thing that I had talked about. It was like, are they giving you time? Are you learning about yourself? Do you have common interests or learning about stuff in general? And that's right. And the last one was, how are you feeling about it? Like, are you walking away from this friendship feeling recharged, feeling excited, or feeling challenged? Or are you walking away from it constantly angry, constantly anxious, constantly suspicious? Those are things to keep in mind when deciding which relationships to keep or just throw. out or distance yourself from, however you go about that process, hopefully with love and grace.
Yeah. I think for me, just wrapping up my thoughts, one of the biggest things when it comes to deciding which relationships are worth it, I think you just need to really be honest with yourself about what your priorities are.
I'm just
Walk away from your MC streams constantly angry.
Maybe you should consider that, Zap. I don't know. Or maybe you should get over it. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So sussing out your relationships and figuring them out, I think it's really important to figure out what your priorities are, because a pitfall that I observed throughout my years was just making other people's priorities my priorities. That led to the people pleasing, and I think just boiling it down and saying, okay, what does Tim need right now when it comes to accountability? Not just what do I need, like what do I want, because it's so much more than that. Like with my friends, I need accountability. I need people telling me when I'm going the wrong way or having crappy thoughts, or if I'm just unhealthy to a degree. What am I pursuing? Where am I going in life? And am I actively doing anything? And then I can identify people that can pour into me in those ways and that want to join me on that journey. Like we talk about, whenever I talk about relationship consultation in my line of work, people are always like, oh, how do I get a girlfriend or boyfriend, or how do I make this relationship work or whatever? And the answer is really simple. Honestly, it's like, you don't focus on them. That sounds really strange, but you don't focus on them, because when you are going in a direction, now don't be a butthead about it. Don't just be like, if you're not going with me, then whatever. No. Just operate with some grace. And it's more like serendipity. It's kind of like if you're going to the beach and your goal is to get to the beach, but people that are also going to the beach are going to say, oh, okay, cool, let's go. Let's stop at this burger place along the way. Serendipity plays a big part in priority and relationship management. And so like having something bigger than you that you're focused on will help you identify the people that are going in the same direction. And that way their priorities don't become your priorities, because you just get stuck relationally. That's how you get things like Stockholm syndrome. That's how you get in abusive relationships. It's where you're so focused on the other person that you think, oh, I'm not valuable. My priorities are not valuable. And so it's just so important to figure that out and then be honest with it. You can like people. And if I'm going to the beach and Brandon's going to, I don't know, New York, we're not going the same direction. We're still great friends, but it's worth the conversation to say, hey, Brandon, you're going that way, I'm going this way. We're not going to connect for a bit. I still like you, but I got to go here for a while.
I actually am going to New York.
I know. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
But that's also so important. That way there's not that ambiguity of you wondering or them wondering, oh, what's our relationship like? Defining the relationship is so important. And you have to have that conflict with those people, even if it's uncomfortable, saying, hey, I don't appreciate the way that you spoke to me. Or, hey, you encroached one of my boundaries. Or, hey, this is a boundary that you might not have been aware of. Do you want to talk about that with me? And the people that care about you, that are going to be worth the time, are going to respond in a way where, oh, hey, let's talk about this. Not, I'm going to remove you as a friend. Because people that don't want to put in the effort, well, guess what? They're not worth that precious space within your close circle group.
Yeah. See, this is how you stop me joking. We just continue to talk about our talking points and let you continue to be a clown. You talk too fast for me to come up with something. Oh, I see. Well, anyways, I do think though that is a good caboose.
Sure. I wanted to make a butt joke right there, but I was drawing a blank.
Sorry. It just I guess it's just a big flat butt for you in that case. All right. Anyways.
Oh, so this Friday, I guess we're going to be, you guys are going to be doing Overwatch, huh?
Saturday. This Saturday, we're going to be doing Overwatch.
Overwatch 2 is out.
Yes.
Diablo 2. I don't know if any of you guys played Diablo 2 Resurrected, but the ladder's resetting on Thursday. I'm so excited. I'm probably going to be playing that.
And we might also be doing some Overwatch tomorrow in stream. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, everybody, happy fall. I totally forgot. Yeah, this weekend I'm going to go to a corn maze on Friday. We're going to the corn maze. And we're going to the Dixie Classic Fair Carolina Classic Fair on Saturday. Going to have some funnel cake and some Ferris wheels. Pretty excited about that.
I'm sorry, you jump from we're going to have some funnel cake and some Ferris wheels, and I'm like,
did I say that?
Yes, you did. And I'm like, do you eat Ferris wheels?
I mean, sometimes.
Ooh.
Yeah, we mostly just go to the fair to eat the food and look at the people because all the people are really strange.
One year I did go to the fair in cosplay.
Did you?
I did. I went as the 10th Doctor. I was like
so nerdy.
In the first year or two when I actually had the costume, I was like, I'm going to go to the fair dressed up and no one can stop me.
Did you know that Tennant is in Game of Thrones now?
Is it him or is it his son?
I mean, I think it's him and his son.
Oh, interesting. What?
I eat the people and look at the food.
Wheels? I'm the opposite. I eat people and look at the food. Jeez, that's not good. You should stop.
Yeah. Anyways, happy fall, everybody, and
Yes.
to you gamers, happy all the new game announcements.
Yes.
Like the new World of Warcraft expansion, which I don't personally care about, but everybody is super stoked about, and the Wrath of the Lich King vanilla release. Did you see that?
I did see that, yes. It kind of just... I like to wave it as it went by, because it's like I have never played World of Warcraft to care, but yes. So yes, happy fall, y'all.
Yeah. And I'm curious, let me know in the comments, or right now, what are you excited for game releases this year? I used to work for GameStop, so
Nothing.
this was always a big time.
I'm excited because by the end of this year, I will have saved up enough money to get a new graphics card. That's what I'm excited about. So I can play Planet Zoo at the settings it was designed to be played at without my computer dying in the process. That's what I'm excited about, Tim.
Grown man.
I'm a grown man who's about to put down some money to get a new graphics card so I can enjoy my Zoo Tycoon game.
Sons of the Forest. What the junk is that?
I don't...
Let me look this up.
That sounds like the next game of the Forest.
Sons of the Forest on Steam. Ooh, that looks pretty.
Yep, it looks like...
Survival game.
Yeah, it looks like the next one, like the follow-up.
Oh, it's been delayed until next year.
Womp.
Get wrecked, Zap.
Guess you're gonna have to wait.
Also, still waiting for the Forest stream. Oh, did we agree to that?
I don't know. We had talked about potentially doing spooky games, and that is a spooky game.
Well, I'll tell you what, Zap. You and I will co-host that, and we'll stream it.
Oh.
Be gone, peasant.
Oh! Well, all right, cool. I guess you're going to be a part of that stream there, Zap, so...
Well, I mean, who's to say that Zap streams even? Because he's got his own Twitch, but has yet to do anything on it.
Oh.
Even though I'm a subscriber.
We're casting shade today. Also, I don't think he has Steam, so that might be part of the problem. Once he gets his gaming PC, there you go, real quick. Oh, wait. Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, I feel that too. Anyways. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you've enjoyed the stream, make sure to like it and hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you can know when we go live next, which will be Friday. We'll be doing some more gaming, so you'll definitely want to be there for that. Dan and I will have some topic to talk about, I'm sure, and it'll be glorious, and maybe we'll still play Minecraft and make people cry with our stack of 1,000 wood when it should be only 64. It's fine. Don't judge us for it. So you'll definitely want to do that. And if you're on Twitch or YouTube, make sure to follow us in those places too, because we are broadcasting in multiple places, trying to reach as many people as we can. So we'd love to have you to be a part of this community. Yeah. But with that said, we broadcast every week, Monday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be live again this Friday. Thank you guys for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
I can see far away from where I've been. He says I see a potential. I see a potential in my eyes. I see a potential. I never lost sight of the reason why. mine. You're alive. You're alive. You're alive. We sing Jesus, you're alive.